I'm not going to say I'm gobsmacked or speechless, because clearly I'm just about to go on and talk about something for the next 5 minutes. But I have been knocked sideways, let's say, by a story in the Independent regarding our manager, regarding Huselos, regarding David Moyes, and regarding Jack Sullivan. Get past a lot of stuff during the day. Everybody's part of a WhatsApp group, aren't they? Everyone's on a forum. Everybody is commenting on videos or on social media, and everyone gets past stuff. So this came across my doorstep. Went and clicked on it. The link is as such. I'll get onto the nitty gritty in just a minute, but let me just tell you. It says David Moyes in frame to replace Pellegrini at West Ham on a short-term contract. The key here is short-term contract. I'll just read on just a little bit before we get back to that. It says David Moyes is currently one of the leading candidates to replace Manuel Pellegrini at West Ham. Blah, blah. We know this. The Independent understands the club, who have been scouring potential replacements for a number of weeks, were ready to sack Pellegrini and make a formal approach for Moyes had they have suffered defeat against Southampton. No news there at all. We know this. We know this to be the case. But it's the Moyes thing that's interesting, because Ancelotti has just been appointed at Everton. Now, you've got to admire Everton's, let's say, their decisive thinking. Because actually it looked like Duncan Ferguson was instilling a little bit of grit into that team. He looked like he was a commanding presence. I think had that have been particularly our owners, they probably would have thought, hold on, maybe we'll stick with this caretaker for a little bit longer. We've only got to look at Manchester United. Look what they did with a caretaker manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Of course, his results were very good as a caretaker manager, but it just goes to show that a guy who dips his toe into the water can be given the job long term. But what that means, by and large, is that whilst Ancelotti is in there, and I'm not entirely sure that I'm jealous of that, I don't think he would particularly work at West Ham for reasons I said on the video last week. But it does rule David Moyes out of the running. I would imagine that was David Moyes' top job. Would he have wanted to go to Everton? Yes. Why? Well, number one, they've got money. Number two, Bill Kenwright is still there, and they had a great working relationship. That being said, having listened to TalkSport, I'm not entirely sure that the Everton fans were that thrilled about David Moyes going back there. But I digress, because I want to get on to the main point, which is the absolute humdinger. And it's about our recruitment of players. It's about Jack Sullivan. It's about Huselos. But what really triggered my interest initially in this article, before I read the other bits, were that David Moyes would accept a short-term contract. And it really does make me wonder why. Yes, I know, this is a newspaper article. It might not be true. But there was enough other truth in the newspaper article, which was actually written before Ancelotti got the job, for me to think, actually, that there is some truth in this. But why would Moyes accept a short-term contract? I can't think that would be the case. I think in many respects, David Moyes holds the trump cards. I don't want Moyes back. I didn't like the football. Wanted something more expansive. I spoke in yesterday's video how I was jealous of Wolves and the way they play. Didn't like David Moyes' brand of football. But he does hold all the trump cards in his relationship with David Sullivan. Because, quite frankly, I think he was treated badly. I think he delivered on his mandate, wouldn't you say? We were flirting with relegation. David Moyes came in. It might not have been pretty. And with Marko Arnautovic up front as a striker, it hadn't really clicked for Arnautovic until David Moyes came in. Put Lanzini very close to him. We looked threatening an attack when we did attack. And in the end, we finished 13th. It was a job well done. He took his bonus. He'd put together his backroom team. Who can forget Stuart Pearce booting that ball into the stands? It looked like he had done the job that he'd been tasked to do. But Sullivan got rid of him. I didn't mind that, by the way. But my point is that, bearing in mind David Moyes probably feels that he should have been offered the job on a full-term basis, or at least given a fair crack at the whip, bearing in mind he'd rescued us, he'd done the dirty work. He probably felt he should have been given 100 million. He probably felt he should have been given the 3-year contract, everything that Pellegrini got. But in many respects, at the time, it probably seemed like a good thing to do for David Moyes to take what, by all intents and purposes, was a 4-month contract. Because it would enable him to put his name back out there. He'd failed in Spain. By and large, he'd failed at Manchester United. It was a chance for David Moyes to say, look, here I am. I'm still relevant in the English game. Someone come and give me a job. I thought it would have worked. I thought one of these clubs that might have been in trouble would have come in for David Moyes. Certainly was surprised to see Pearson at Watford get the job before David Moyes was offered it. In that sense, Watford traditionally go for the more Gallic, the more continental coach, don't they? I thought if you're going to give it to a Brit, why not David Moyes? But so actually his loan experience at West Ham hasn't really worked. He's not been offered a job since. Well, not to my knowledge. If he has been offered one, he certainly hasn't felt that anyone was worth taking. So why would he then accept another short-term contract? I just feel he would turn around to Sullivan and say, no, I'm not going to accept this. I did you a favour last time. I think he was on 10 grand a week. He got a bonus of £2 million for keeping us up. But I think he was on 10 grand a week. Relatively low wages. He did his remit. He did what he was meant to do. Any negotiations with Sullivan now, I just think they would be fraught. I just don't think it would be... I'd like to be a fly on the wall. I don't think it'd be a particularly comfortable meeting. Which makes me wonder, has this deal been agreed? Has David Moyes already agreed? If so, how would David Moyes feel? The fact that he thinks he's coming in, Pellegrini wins against Southampton, and then David Sullivan saying to David Moyes, hold on, David, wait. Not yet, mate. Not yet. We're just going to let it run a little bit longer. I don't think it's great. I don't think it's a great scenario. Anyway, here's the big one. And here's the bit. Again, this is sent through. Something weird has happened here. I'll pop it up on the screen. It came to me, and then it was in the article. Unfortunately, it had been screenshotted when it had been sent to me, because now it's not there. And I don't blame it for not being there. But it says, Joint Chairman David Sullivan's son, Jack, has been acting as technical director and leading transfer negotiations for the club, with West Ham's current director of football, Mario Huselos, expected to depart with Pellegrini. The club expects to be busy in January with a first-choice defensive midfielder prioritised. Come again? Joint Chairman David Sullivan's son, Jack, has been acting as technical director, leading transfer negotiations. Why? Why? Why would that be? I mean, what possible credentials would he have to do such a thing? Why would this be happening? You might think Huselos is good, bad, or indifferent. We went through the players yesterday, didn't we? Or the other day? Sorry, one of the videos the other day. Roberto, yeah, okay, rubbish. Diop looks like he's a good player. Jury may still be out on Anderson. I think Haller's a good player. I think he's done all right. Jury's out on Fornals, possibly, but I mean, it's not been a total disaster. Some good players have arrived. And as we know, the narrative always seems to be, if they're bad players, Huselos brought them in. If they're good players, Sullivan chose them. Now, it would be easy to dismiss this, but I heard a rumour from quite a reliable source about a year ago. And it was that, and somebody said to me, one of the Sullivan boys did the Diop deal. I didn't believe it. A few months went by, and someone else mentioned it as well. And it was just off the back of that private information that wasn't given to me for me to put out there. I didn't put it out there. And it was of somebody I trust that does know people in the club. I thought, no, surely not. It's ridiculous. Why would he be involved in such a thing? So I dismissed it. Then I heard it again. Once a coincidence, twice a coincidence. Once is surprising, twice a coincidence. 3 times, bit of a trend. No smoke without fire, maybe. And I just wonder exactly what is going on here if that is the case. Because surely, if that is true, that Joint Chairman David Sullivan's son Jack has been acting as technical director and leading transfer negotiations for a club, where on earth does that leave anybody else? Why are we choosing players when we don't know if the manager's going to be around? When the manager has no say in it, we have a technical director who is not able to choose players anymore. Why? Because he bought a bad goalie. He actually did buy another one, David Martin, who he thinks all right. Fabianski bought him. He was all right. Oh, no, of course. Because Fabianski and David Sullivan, Fabianski and David Martin, they were obviously Sullivan signers, weren't they? The bad one, that was Huselos, right? You see where I'm going with this? I cannot believe for a moment that this can be accurate. But this is the third time the story has come up. And I bring it to your attention only because it was brought to my attention. And if that is not worthy of the lunchtime topic on this channel, I'm not sure what is. I mean, it just leaves me with more questions than I can even bother. We can even begin to cover in a 10 to 15 minute lunchtime video. The club expects to be busy in January with a first choice defensive midfielder being prioritised. Who says that's what we need? Personally, I think, you know this, regular watchers of the channel. I think we need an energetic midfielder. I think we need a box-to-box midfielder. I think we need an athlete. I think we're too slow in the middle of the park. Maybe that person is a defensive midfielder, but why is somebody who is going to have no input in selecting the team doing this? We need the manager to decide that we need a defensive midfielder. Crikey, our current manager, it's taken him long enough, having let Andy Carroll go, having sold off Chicharito, having let Perez go, only to decide actually he does need another forward. So he's turned Mikel Antonio into one. It's taken him long enough to decide we need another forward. Why would we be doing this? This is a very, very odd scenario, I've got to say. It also, this story and the other story, plus the story in The Sun about the training grounds dispute, but added to everything else, just suggests that we are just constantly putting off this situation. And I feel sorry for Pellegrini. I do feel sorry for him, actually. My dad always used to say, never feel sorry for a man with a yacht. But I do. I do feel, I'm not even sure he's got a yacht, but you know what I mean. Don't feel sorry for someone who's absolutely loaded and can be comfortable in life. Because how can he do the job when he is undermined to this extent? When possibly the chairman's son is doing the negotiating for transfers. When David Moyes is waiting in the wings to take his job. And when he can quite feasibly lose his next couple of games and he's out. But this is where he is now. Unless Pellegrini can put together, I think, 3 wins back to back. Or maybe, 2 wins and a draw. Unless he can get some sort of form going. Unless he can get that form table showing green rather than red. I just think we're going to be in Groundhog Day. I just think it is going to be repeating itself. I think we beat someone. We lose the next 2. He gets 1 more game to prove himself. And so on and so forth. And on it goes. I think we can all agree that Manuel Pellegrini is not the long-term future for West Ham. He's just not in the chairman's plans. So that is the very definition of a dead man walking. And where does that lead us? With January coming up, with the transfer window coming up. Either they don't buy anybody because they've left themselves, because they've dithered and they didn't get rid of him when they probably should have done. They're not going to want to invest wholly in a manager when another one's going to be coming in. Even if David Moyes comes in. Let's be perfectly frank here. David Moyes came in. He bought Hugo. Spent 9-10 million on Hugo. That didn't work out. We like Hugo. The bubbles, smiley face. We like him. Scoring goals for QPR, yes. But you're going to find it hard to convince me that was a good transfer. The price of a Hugo is not 9 or 10 million anymore. The price of a Hugo, I think at its lowest on the Hugo index, the price of a Hugo was down to about 2 million. Might be up to 5. He scored some goals for QPR. But it's not been a good transfer. So my point is, are they going to give the money to Pellegrini? No. Are they going to give the money to Moyes? No. It leaves us with 2 things. Either they don't spend any money, or Jack Sullivan's going to go and buy our players for us.